Good morning, friends. Hope you guys are all doing wonderful. And things might look a little bit different in this car because they are different. I now have the factory interior and all of the rest of the stuff that was in this car. Basically, it's back to stock because I am daily driving this car. So if you guys watched the last video where I was talking a little bit about daily driving the E92 M3, I had the Sportsters in here, the rear seat delete, everything that was just over the top for daily driving. Ended up taking that all out of this car. Not getting rid of it, actually have some plans for that stuff. So all of that is in storage as of now. In addition to that, I took the Öhlins Road and Track suspension off this car on Friday, and I ended up finding a set of shocks and Eibach springs for this car, and I threw those on. It feels like I am driving a monster truck. I will say it's a little more comfortable having the factory seats and the just the springs on this car for daily driving. It makes a hell of a lot more sense. And we have all of these speed bumps in our community where I live, and now I can just drive straight over them. I don't have to go on like a crazy angle and go real slow. It's much, much nicer for daily driving. That is one of those things when you are daily driving a modified car that like you just learn over time. It's just not worth it to have all this stuff on the car that just kind of like takes away from the daily driving aspect of the car. So I ended up taking off the Öhlins Road and Track. You're probably wondering why I did that, because I'm actually going to be putting that on the 1M clone. So there's going to be a lot of changes happening from now until February when the Beamer Invasion happens in Orlando, and the big focus is the 1M clone right now. Being that this is more of like my daily driver car, I just wanted to put this car kind of back to factory, back to stock. Not entirely, but for the most part. So I did spend the weekend just kind of transferring all that stuff over. There are some things that need to change before I throw on the Öhlins Road and Track for the 1M clone. One being the rear subframe, so I will be running a complete E92 M3 rear subframe, rear axles, the DCT differential, and then also a drive shaft out of the E92 M3 to butt up to the N54 transmission that I have. So it's going to be a bit of a Frankenstein, but it's going to handle a million times better, and I'm going to be refreshing everything in the rear subframe that I have, the one that I purchased that was used. So everything's going to get refreshed. It's going to be nice and new, and then we're going to do some powder coating to the used subframe so it looks nice and brand new. It's going to be good. It's going to be really good for that build. I mean, that is like the project car, and that's kind of why I've taken the focus and put it mostly onto that car. That's enough of that. So I'm on my way to the shop right now. I have two videos I have to film today. One is going to be on a Turner Motorsports F80 exhaust system, which I am a huge fan of. Sometimes you just need to like experience a product and like install it firsthand on a customer's car and hear it to really understand like what are some of the better products to buy for certain cars. And you know, I was team Active Auto Works single mid pipe and Dynon rear section for a while. However, the Dynon rear section is out of stock for those cars. So we had a customer, a good friend of mine, who wanted a new exhaust for his F80, and we ended up deciding to try out the Turner Motorsports stainless steel exhaust with the silver tips. Man, really happy with that setup. I wasn't even originally going to film a video on it, but I was so happy with the way that it turned out that I decided today I'm going to go in early and do a little video on that car and that exhaust setup, because it fits so good, it sounds really good, and I think that like the stainless steel tips on his color car, it just worked so well. So yeah, I think that's going to be a good one for you guys. In addition to that, we have a KLM big full frame turbo Supra coming in that we've been working on for the past few months. We're going to be tuning it, dyno tuning it, and putting down some numbers on that car. And it's going to be an interesting build, so I'm going to be filming that one as well. 3 videos in one day. It's gonna be a long day, but that is literally what my day is like. Like, I'm just hopping around doing videos and then working on cars. I'm just all over the place, but it's a lot of fun. I love it, man. I'm blessed to be able to do this job, I guess you could call it. It's more of my hobby for a living, but yeah, it's pretty awesome. Still have plans to pick up a daily. However, I have decided to entertain other cars. One being the Porsche Macan GTS. Yeah, so I've always wanted to get into a Porsche. I wasn't sure which one it would be. After looking at some reviews and some prices and what some of the people around me have, some of the dealerships around here have, I've located a couple of Macan GTSs that are kind of in my budget for a new daily. And yeah, I think I might go that route, and I really like those cars. So I think that would be interesting. I don't know if like a lot of people would want to watch that type of content, but also it's all good. That would be like my daily, so it doesn't really matter. The other question that you guys had was, would I be getting rid of the E92 M3? Is this just going to be sold? Am I going to just get rid of it? I don't know. You know, I have people who are like throwing shade, like, oh, here we go, selling a car again. Guys, I wish I could keep all my cars. Like, that would just be ideal, you know? But I'm sort of leaning towards keeping whatever I buy as a daily outside and just trying to keep both the 1M clone and the E92 M3 in the garage and just drive this when I want to. However, I know that once I get a new daily and I, you know, always drive my 1M clone on the weekends, being that that's like the fun little project car, I know that this car will just end up sitting. And so like eventually it'll probably go. As much as it pains me to say that, this car will probably go. The reason it doesn't really matter too much to me is because, you know, this isn't like the dream spec of an E92 M3. It's a great car and I really like it. It is single hump, which I love, and the fact that it's manual is cool. However, it doesn't have a carbon roof, which is kind of like a big deal when it comes to E92 M3s. And yeah, I would prefer to have one with a carbon roof. And I think I would probably just try to shoot for like a newer one, LCI, and I would probably go for the DCT. I know a lot of people are gonna like not love that opinion, but I think the DCT just fits in this car better. And I'm like a big manual guy. However, I've owned one of these with a DCT and they pair up nicely. So I put a community post up the other day asking you guys to send me any questions that you had that you wanted me to address. Got a lot of really good questions from you guys, and one of them was, what was my favorite car that I've ever owned? Because I've owned so many of these BMWs at this point, I don't even know how many. It's been a lot. But you know, I had some time to think about it, and it's not an easy question to answer because I do feel like I've owned some of my favorite BMWs to date. Obviously, there are still plenty that I haven't owned, but up to this point, I would have to say that my favorite BMW that I have owned to date would be the M4 GTS. It's very close with the Supra. Being that the Supra is the B58, so easy to make power and just a fun, cool car, especially like at the time that I had purchased that car, you know, not a lot of people had those. Like, those were still sort of untapped, uncharted territory, and everyone was like, why would he buy a Toyota? Like, no one understood about the B58. This is way before the B58 hype, way before everyone got on the B58 bandwagon. And I could tell because the views went down on the channel when I bought the Supra. People were not excited about that car, and then they started to go up. And now they continue to go up all on the Supra videos because the Supra has gotten so popular over the past like 2 years. So it was kind of funny how that all worked out. Like, I bought the car, no one understood it, everyone hated it, and then everyone started to love it, and everyone bought it, and then all of my views went up because I had made all of this content on the Supra that no one was watching at the time, but then over time began to watch. But aside from that, you know, the car was just a cool car. It was different, it looked different, it had this like supercar kind of appeal at the time. No one really knew what it was. It was just a fun, sick car. It was super fast for how little money you could put into it. It just was crazy fast. And yeah, it was just a great experience. But the M4 GTS was just different, man. That car was insane. It was like one of those bucket list cars that I never thought I'd be able to own. You know, being in BMW enthusiast, you dream of getting like a CSL model or a CS or an individual or a GTS type spec. And so getting that GTS was just like, it pinched me. Like, is this real? Like, this is so cool that I get to own this car. So that would be definitely like one of my most proud purchases. Was the M4 GTS, and a lot of people to this date are like, why did you get rid of it? You have to remember that car had some Carfax history. It was in an accident in the rear right. It was repaired properly, like you would never be able to tell, but that's still on the history report, and it just kind of kills the value of a special VIN car like that. And also, it was missing the roll cage. As hard as I could try to find one, the only one I found was 10 grand. Was not going to spend 10 grand on a roll cage. It's just silly. So I ended up just getting rid of the car, mainly because it was a very, very expensive car. I had a lot of money in the car, and I was able to get back out of the car for the same price that I bought it for. So it was like, well, I might as well just unload it now, and if I ever want to buy another one again, I would get like a proper one that had a clean history and that had the roll cage and all of the things that a GTS was supposed to come with. The thing that I learned about these like special VIN cars is, if you're gonna buy one, don't buy one that's like clapped out or has a weird history like that, because it's gonna be very difficult if you ever want to just sell it or move on or get your money back out of it, especially if you have a lot of equity in it like I did. You can really like screw yourself in the long run. So in retrospect, I made the right decision. I got out of it and I got all my money back. And thankfully I didn't hang on to it for too long, so like the value didn't tank or anything on the car. And I think that car is still getting like bounced around in auction now, which just like kills me to see. I hate to see that, because it was such a beautiful car, and it's like, you know, it's a pin crank hub GTS, which is kind of perfect. Anyone who has like a little bit of money that wants to get like the perfect track car could just fucking build that thing up a little bit, and man, it would be a monster on the track. It's already pinned. It's got everything you need to be like a perfect BMW track car. But I put so much time and money into that car, and it's just a really, really clean version of GTS. It's just unfortunate that the history that's on it is the history that's on it. And I think that scares away a lot of buyers. I'm gonna get my coffee. We'll continue this conversation. And we're back. And we're caffeinated, which is always gonna be the better version of me. You guys are probably wondering why I have a bunch of errors on my dash with airbag and all that stuff. Well, I have to get it coated again because I put the factory seats back in. I had them coat out everything for the Recaros, and then once you switch back, it changes things, so you gotta have it coated again. I'm gonna do that probably today. This little M5 in front of us, Alpine white, that looks good. Paint match diffuser, I dig it. Very, very nice. So yeah, that's the story, man. That's what's going on right now. I also had some questions from you guys about when will the next like build, like proper build start. I don't know, guys. I wish I could just continue to do crazy builds over and over again. These builds are not cheap, man. They are expensive. So you have to remember, anytime that I embark on a build, you have to like allocate $100,000 to, like, if you really want to do a build proper. You know, the 1M clone is probably like half of that right now. If I had to guess, I'm probably somewhere in like $35,000 to $40,000 range into that build right now. And I plan on spending probably another 10 to 20K on it, to where I'm like really happy with it. That will be basically all of the stuff that I need to do before the Beamer Invasion show, which is like, you know, the big single, and that's all N54 set up. I did have plans of doing the S65 in that car. I still do have plans of doing that, but again, we're talking like another 30, 40 grand in order to make that happen. It is not easy. So, you know, and I'm just like a regular guy. I'm not TJ Hunt, you know, I'm not any of these guys who are able to just throw in like hundreds of thousands of dollars into these builds just one after another. I wish I could. I would be building all kinds of sick cars. But it takes time, and it takes money, and it takes preparation for me to be able to do that. Not to mention, my schedule is just so much crazier now that I'm also working with CES, which is a great thing, but you know, it does come with time commitment. So it's difficult for me to take time away from that and then also do the YouTube stuff and full-on build stuff. But I do promise we will get into another build. You know, I've found that in the past, I've often just skipped from build to build to build to build so fast that I feel like I've never properly given a crack at a build, like a real true, like seeing it through to the end type situation in a build. And I feel like I'm doing that with the 135, the 1M clone, and that makes me really happy, you know? So I'm taking my time with it. I'm not allowing the outside pressures of YouTube and social media to make me feel like I need to get it done faster. I'm just doing it at my pace because honestly, that's how the majority of people in real life will have to do it. It's not like something that's going to happen overnight, and you're not just going to continue to go from build to build to build to build. Is that the best for social media and YouTube? No. People want to see things happen fast. They want to see new cars constantly, and that's like the nature of YouTube. That is something with YouTube that I do not like, because I don't think it's real. It's difficult to build a car that fast and really like be able to appreciate it. It's cool for sure because you see things happen so fast, but I've noticed from doing builds, I mean, let's be honest, the majority of my builds that I've done so far, I would hardly call them builds. They were cookie cutter, you know, they're just slap on parts, and they were nothing too crazy. I do consider the 135 to 1M clone more of like a proper build because of the amount of time and effort that's gone into it. And I think that there's something to be said about that. It changes the dynamic of the ownership experience when you really, really like give your all to a car and a build like that. Outside of that, personal life, things are great, man. Things are awesome. We're in our house. It's me and my girl, the 2 cats, and we're just chilling. We did unfortunately lose our dog. He was older, and he was a cancer survivor, and the cancer came back, and we lost him, and it was horrible, man. I can't even explain to you if you guys have had a dog before in your life. It's like having another member of the family, and it was just a really, really awful, awful experience. I don't wish that upon anybody, because he was like, he was one of the homies, and he was one of our, he was a family member, like I said. So, pretty devastating that we lost little Otis, but we are doing well outside of that. In addition to that, I am a runner now. I've been running like seriously, I guess you could say, for the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. And so I have my first half marathon this weekend that I'm doing, which is pretty cool. Like, I used to not be able to run more than 2 miles, 3 miles. And I was in like the worst shape of my life last year. I was at like 200 pounds and just in terrible shape, couldn't run. You know, I just decided that like enough of this garbage that I'm putting in my body, I want to feel better, I want to look better, and I started to take it seriously. And so now I've lost like over 20 pounds just from eating right and exercising and working out a lot more, and I'm able to run like 14 miles. I did 14 miles last weekend, or just about 14 miles, 13 and a half, something like that. And this weekend I'll have my first half marathon. I'm trying to do it in sub 8 splits, so 750-ish per mile is what I'm trying to aim for, which I think is very possible. So yeah, setting goals outside of car stuff, outside of YouTube stuff. I think that personal goals are just as important as your professional goals, and they feed off of one another. And yeah, man, if there's anything that any sort of advice that I can offer any of you guys that are, you know, struggling with other things in life, man, get your mind and your body right. And a lot of times, if you can get your mind and your body right, other things will sort of fall into place if you're applying the right amount of pressure and hustle. So, you know, for us, like a big thing is we did it's called the Hard 30, something like that, where basically you're eating a whole food diet for 30 days. So no sugar, no dairy, no bread, no fruit even, no added sugars, nothing. I mean, we literally would just be eating like, you know, like meat, like really, really lean, clean meat, and then we would have vegetables and yeah, water. I mean, that's about it. And it's crazy how everything changed for me when I started doing that. It was really, really difficult. Like, when I say it was hard, it was extremely hard, because you don't realize how much just junk we're throwing into our bodies for like on the day-to-day. I think it's just Americans, man. We just like eat too much and we eat bad foods all the time. We're just used to it. We want it fast. And so, yeah, it completely changed the way that I like just treat my body and the way that I eat and think. Like my mental clarity, everything changed. Everything, man. It was crazy. And then I started running, getting involved in running more. And if you guys buy the E9X cup holders, if you don't get the OEM ones, they make a lot of noise. Just warning you. They work. They work for cheap, but they are annoying. But yeah, I started working out then. You know, my girlfriend has always been a runner and running marathons, so she kind of got me into running, and I started doing little by little. You know, I was just working my way up. I remember going out on my first run. I had like a training program to like get up to a half marathon, which is this weekend. But I remember going on my first run, which was like 2 miles, you know, and I could barely do it. And I was running like maybe 9-minute miles, even more. It was pathetic, dude. It was so pathetic, and I was sore for days after like a 2-mile run. And yeah, man, it's crazy what you can do if you just train your body and your mind to get there. So if any of you guys are like, you know, struggling in life, dude, just try to get things out of your profession, out of your job and all of your hobbies, and just try to get your mind right and start eating right. You'll see a big change in your attitude and just your work hustle and everything, man. So I guess that's enough of my little motivation spiel for you guys today. If you have any questions for me, leave them down in the comments. I'm on my way to the shop now to go film these other videos. It's gonna be a good day, man. I'm blessed and I'm excited, and I also want to thank all of you guys who have hung around for the content. It's been a little bit different these past few months because, you know, I've just been doing different shit, and that's life, man. Things change. But we will get back into some build content in the near future. I've got some exciting things. After Beamer Invasion, after February, we're going to be taking on some new stuff, so it's going to be sick. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. Let's open up the valves. I'll give you guys a little bit of exhaust action before I leave you. Man, I will say having this Valvetronic exhaust is nice. It's convenient. It completely changes the way that the car sounds when you open up the valves. But it's nice to have them closed. You know, I live in like a quiet neighborhood, and I can just close up those valves in the meantime and not be an animal and just super loud. I'm always behind the slowest cars though when I get on this on-ramp. It sucks. Love that sound, man. Love it. All right, we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.